Elf unaware, job with WAPTEK, day late, dollar short. Here we go. With this fear-mongering puke named WAPTEK, I urge you all to research Project Bluebeam and HARP and CERN. Big deception coming up. Wake up. Now, the reason I made this the stupid title for it that way was because of the lack of self-awareness. If you're going to go around telling people to be frightened, nobody says look up Bluebeam, HARP, or CERN and says wake up and talks about a coming deception if they're not trying to convince you to be frightened of something. So I'm the fearmonger because I tell them, and that was in a video, about the fact that being afraid of House Resolution 8791 from 1978, which ironically was a free speech bill, being touted by The Onion as a coming apocalypse. Me telling people not to be afraid of that is me being a fearmonger. One of the tactics of people who are spreading fear is to throw everybody off by saying something that is patently the polar opposite of reality. Or the only tactic. Anyway, next. You're wrong about the hexagon shape of the false sun patent, etc., yada yada. It doesn't turn. Like that has anything to do with the fact that the video I posted was about the fact that the image people keep showing, I'm talking about the image they're showing, is of something that's bolted to the ground and not in orbit, and they're claiming it is in orbit. You didn't dispute that. You just guessed without investigating your statement, and I'm sorry to tell you that I've been seeing people recording these suns with black spots in the center. That's caused by the CCD imager. That's been explained as well. Black hole sun. You can look up, the black sun effect. It's not complicated. Not looking it up doesn't mean that you get off on the. You don't get to have a. You don't get a pass here. They knew nothing of this stuff here. They thought it was something in front of the sun, of the real sun. But now I know what that black spot in the center of the sun, it's really happening. So you ignore the fact that the video you were posting this under was me saying and proving that the image people kept using is a cropped image of something literally bolted to the ground and not in the sky. And are you going to tell me I'm a fearmonger as well? By the way, the hexagonal shape doesn't turn. Yeah, if you turn your camera like this, the hexagon shape goes ahead and turns with it because it's in the camera. It's a lens flare. Next one. NASA couldn't afford to keep funding Hollywood to produce their grainy videos with continuity errors. Because we all know that that's the whole point of paying Hollywood millions of dollars to fake the moon landing. Yes, it's on the foot, faking the moon landing. So that they would deliberately include continuity errors. So now they're hiring trolls like WAPTEK to back up the official story. This is absolutely hilarious. Yeah, I think this is a hilarious idea too. Number one, if I'm hired, where's the damn money? No, seriously, where's my damn check? Pay up. Next. Either WAPTEK is delusional or he's delusional. Awkward moment in grammar. Anyway. And of course, Hollywood knows the deal. Right. Look at how great their CGI is lately. Took them this long to do it. But oh no, in the 1960s they were able to do a real bang-up job that nobody was able to detect or find or The only people seeing errors in reality are people like you who want to see them, and most importantly, there's something wrong with one group. It's not the one you think. Why would you state such an obvious rhetorical fact? Now I don't know where you're going. They know the deal in such a degree that they have helped write the freaking script. A-hole. Had to throw that in, apparently. Right. Hollywood's writing the script for our space exploration, which consists of sending probes out now, because sending humans out is a monumentally wasteful thing. If anybody's curious why we don't send people anymore, a human being weighs a couple of 100 pounds, and does nothing except the work that we now do with a pocket calculator. No, scratch that. With a microchip-sized controller unit. We aren't needed because we made the equipment smaller. It's about how much weight you can put up into space. If you can make a probe smaller, it can move faster. The mathematics say don't put humans in space anymore because it's a waste of materials and time. We only do it in low Earth orbit now, and that's it. Also, by the way, human beings' families sue if someone dies a lot. So they tend to not want to do this anymore at all. After a couple of space shuttle accidents, nobody wants to do this anymore. It's just not worth the bad press. If anybody was curious, that is the reason. Originally, humans weren't supposed to land on the moon either, but it had to be a human. It had to be from a country, because a machine cannot claim the moon. There's a whole story behind that. But anyway, here we go. Explain how they got all the equipment into the capsules, and then we can start having a discussion. Thank you for the very vague response and request. If you would be more specific, I could actually respond to this. The point of this was, of course, so that I can't. So you can say, aha, I got you. No, really, I want you to post that part. The only part of this whole thing is explain how they got equipment into the capsules. You can look up, literally, I don't know if anybody knows this, but one of the funny things about the entire moon mission is that as of right now, absolutely no part of making a moonshot is considered secret. Even the designs for basically the nuclear bomb missiles that they use to put people on, which I think is hilarious and very Wile E. Coyote-ish, are open source. You can go ahead and build this stuff, you just have to do it. A lot like the moon landing being faked, doing a real moon landing is really something you can do. It just takes money or time or effort, or you got to scrounge the right equipment. It's not hard to do anymore. Where are you hovering? Next. I won't even start to mention video technical issues. Well, please don't, because every time anybody does that, they post the wrong information because none of you know what the hell you're talking about. So many liars and thieves. Really. The only people stealing anything here seems to be you guys stealing stuff from CGI artists like the Faking Hoaxer. Thought I'd throw him in there. Skywatcher. Anyway. And the Van Allen radiation issue. Yeah, you can actually study that if you want to take an actual course in the subject. None of you do. And why do they all have large noses? Just like Pinocchio. You're saying Pinocchio. I think this person's from another country because I hear that term. You're like a Pinocchio. You don't hear Americans saying that, so I'm assuming he's from another country. Okay, next one. Yes, this is about Freeman on the land and stuff like that. It goes on and on. I'm going to cut it off at a certain point when I just honestly can't take it anymore. In the absence of national legislation covering a subject, this term is a little suspect, as legislation can simply mean, or you use the term to describe any act or making of a law. Yeah, anyway, the process of making laws. We have national legislation called the Constitution. Everybody whips out the Constitution. Excuse me while I whoop this out. Every time they're caught not following the law. The Constitution isn't the law. It's the basis for the law. And it gets edited all the time. They're called amendments. We have a bunch of additional code on top of this that is called the body of law. You ignoring 99% of it for the simplicity and the malleability of a document that you can just misinterpret badly, the argument's invalid. So right there, the thing from 1915 you cited as suspect. No, it's not. You just don't like it because it disagrees with your point that you want to drive a car without a license and go off and violate laws all you want to and just claim, I'm an independent country. I'm a walking, talking, sovereign universe. And I'm a ballerina. It doesn't change anything, but hey, I can say it. I could have been a ballerina. Too much information. Anyway. A state may rightfully prescribe uniform regulations necessary for public safety. Yes, that would be kind of the point. And order in respect to the operation upon its highways of all motor vehicles, those moving in interstate commerce as well as others. That's not exclusive. That's inclusive. In commerce as well as others. This is pertaining to commercial use. No, specifically the word as well as means including any other vehicle. You're looking for a citation somewhere that didn't say all motor vehicles. The rules about freedom to travel were based at a time when you had a horse or carriage and horse, and the horse would stop instinctively because it didn't want to ram itself into a tree. Cars don't do that anymore, so the legislation's a bit different. You might want to catch up to that. No, it's not pertaining to commercial use. Every single time that's been brought up in court, the judges had to explain to the person that they're going to be physically compelled. That means held down, Hannibal Lecter style. You're going to be made to say it, nail his foot to the floor. You're going to be made to quote the law without editing it on the fly. You're not allowed to lie about the law in a courtroom. And I'm not going to let you do it here. I'm going to quote you again. For public safety and in respect to the operation upon its highways of all motor vehicles, those moving in interstate commerce as well as others. That's inclusive, not exclusive. Now, anybody out there who doesn't want to hear go la 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 while they drive off a cliff, hopefully, and make it easier for the rest of us, no, you do not have a right to drive a car. You have a right to travel. And even the right to travel can be impeded because it also says in every state law and also in federal law that if it's a danger to others or yourself, you're not allowed to do it. Basically, you're not allowed to literally walk off a cliff. Yes, it's a straight line on the map, but there's this whole 300-foot drop you got to worry about. Got to go another route. Detours are a thing. Take detour. The Constitution prohibits anybody from hindering your right to travel on roads and highways. It does not, however, because it's the Constitution, prohibit a law that says that you can't drive a car without a license. I'm going to leave the rest of it down below. It's a racket. It's only for revenue. Blah, blah, blah. You're just complaining and whining, and you can't win this argument because you're wrong. Not because there's a big, horrible, big bad government preventing you from doing what you want. It's the rest of us telling you, go to hell. Just get over it. I don't want you to drive. I don't think you should have the right to travel either. I think you should have to dribble. It's a sports joke. Come on. Next, I'm going to bring up... This is totally unrelated. I can't tell if somebody was doing this as a joke or not, but I'm going to include the commentary below because it's funny. Archon parasites infected Anunnaki. And a bunch of them. Robert Stanley Telephone Skullcap, most evil computer god that lives on the other side of the moon that we never see. Source, a psychiatric patient and lawyer, Francis E. Deck, Esquire. And then the address, because the guy always screamed his address. This is the source document. The Church of the Subgenius, all hail Bob, praise WAPTEK. Emotep. Adopted Esquire as the prophet. The ravings of a lunatic. Okay, now I've got to say this. There's a bunch of bad jokes you can say, like hire the handicapped, they're fun to watch, and that sort of thing. Okay, those are mean, and I'm not handicapped. Oh, I am handicapped. I'm handicapable. But when you're on the internet, especially, or just walking down the street and go to a certain street corner, you'll all know about that one guy that screams at the top of his lungs in a way that is bordering on poetry. I've heard this guy before. His name is Francis E. Deck. And he was a lawyer who got disbarred at one point. He lost his mind. And he probably suffered from schizophrenia. The way he got it out of his system, in my opinion, is to rant endlessly, it seems, about something called an influence machine. I've done a video about this before. The idea is that a person has a delusion that there's a machine somewhere, because it has to be a machine for some reason. They externalize what's happening to their mind. And they decide that this machine is being used to manipulate them and mess with them. Which is not the experience the majority of the population has. We can all vote on reality, but it doesn't care. But the ranting of this guy is literally artwork. It's considered outsider art and a few other things. So I'm going to leave a bunch of links below because that's actually the only useful thing out of this video you're going to get. But I got to warn you, he says a lot of things that are not just politically incorrect, they're really, really nasty. But the way he says it is bordering on poetry. Thanks for watching, have a good day, and I wish all of those luck with this.